Hello friends, I'm Gorf, and recently a paleontologist from China, Jiangji, has dated a find to be 146,000 years old. An ancient human skull has cast doubt on the human origin tree we built over 100 years of hard work. Because this species doesn't match any human species present in this tree at all. So far we've believed that we, the modern humans known as Homo Sapiens, have evolved. This might now be a question mark. In fact, in the year 1933, there was a conflict between China and Japan. Japan was attacking China from the northeast, so to escape these attacks, the people there took refuge in harbor cities Songhua, referring to the river or simply the Dragon River. The construction of railway bridges has been for emergency transport. But one day, during the construction, a worker found a human skull. As soon as he got the skull, he was happy to have discovered something, and without discussing it with another worker, he directly took it home to examine. Upon reaching there, he wrapped the artifact in traditional Chinese style cloth and hid it in an abandoned well near his home for about 80 years. And then 80 years later, on the day he was counting his final breaths, he shared this whole saga with his grandson. She narrated to her granddaughter and mentioned that she had to remove it from there and keep it close to her effortlessly. They too then considered it a valuable antique and kept it with them. But then recently in 2017, this news reached Chinese paleontologist Jiang Ji. They immediately ordered the artifact to be surrendered to Hebei University of China for research. As soon as they found the artifact, the scientists proceeded with its carbon dating. So everyone was shocked, because this skull challenges our concept of human evolution. This proves previous theories wrong. Now friends, because the part of the skull found was incomplete, and based on it alone, Derek couldn't reach any conclusions. Coming here is a mistake. So scientists adopted a new technique. They first tried to match the skull with George's 95 human fossils. Not a single human fossil matched this skull. In fact, an attempt was even made to fit its 3D scan into the human evolution tree with the help of AI. But you won't believe, from millions of possibilities, AI has always played in a new branch of tomorrow. However, if we look, every method adopted by scientists is only for new breaths. It was pointing towards this piece, and therefore scientists are compelled to. A new branch had to be celebrated, and it had to be named humor. Mystery! The reason behind this isn't because the dragon was as huge, because if you remember, this was the total dragon reward. Found near the Songhua River, scientists now consider it a new species. But so far, it's his very first. Couldn't solve it alone. Partly bikes because they think it ends up being racist against Africans. Yes, it will be settled strangely. In fact, to understand evolution, a scientist from Philadelphia, Samuel Morton, made it a case study. He collected skulls from people around the world, and they were arranged in ascending order according to their sizes. This proved that Africans have the smallest skull size, meaning their brain is quite significant. Europeans overall have larger sizes and brains. This custody essentially backed a strange theory of polygenism, claiming every human race in the world evolved from different species. But today we know this isn't true, and this theory was just pseudoscience created for political flattery, so that Europeans could use Africans for their own benefit, to be used like a slave. Big all thanks to Darwin, who presented the origin of species theory. Polygenism was sharply countered. It was sweetened. Well, in VBC gang sign Benedict, we say in the very beginning Darwin had little interest in human evolution, but as soon as the theory of polygenism emerged and people started treating each other like slaves, they studied human evolution to end this slavery, decided to do and presented the theory of human evolution to the world with solid work. Darwin's theory of evolution suggests that every person in the world evolved from the same species, meaning in short, Darwin's theory was based on monogenesis. To what extent was Darwin's theory true and when? It is not possible for both polygenism and monogenism supporters to prove it at that time. Therefore, to bibuto mai mispund pakasente, to prove their theories right, the race to find various human fossils through archaeological excavations has begun. In this race, they found many fossils, which helped them arrange and create a human origin tree with us at the end. Indeed, Darwin's theory of evolution holds water, and we all evolved from just one species, Homo erectus But as of today, as you have learned, Dragon Man has challenged it because the fossils found now belong to not one but two different species, one being Homo erectus, and the second came millions of years later, the Neanderthals. So Dragon Man has challenged our evolution tree because if we look at our human evolution tree, so about 33 million years ago, Australopithecus existed on Earth, evolving from chimpanzees. But Australopithecus already used stone tools for hunting, those that appeared somewhat formidable. Pointed bat, not sharp-in tools, making required brain power, increasing their brain. The brain volume had increased by 400 cubic centimeters from that of chimpanzees.
But their arms were still as long as those of a chimpanzee, and the spine was S-shaped, which made them walk crouched. Gradually, they became experts in making handy tools, which were pointed and sharp. Adopting new hunting methods and creating new tools revolutionized their world 80,000 years ago. It grew over time, evolving into a new species, which means they indicate, but for hunting and aiming, having a straight spine was still a major necessity, and gradually they started adopting this posture. And about 13,000 years ago, that was the case. The first human species to walk entirely upright spoke in Homo erectus. Homo erectus learned two things from animals for survival. Are seen for communication. Because of communication, they could coordinate with each other, giving directions, and even hunt big animals. And with your help, they could cook and eat them. Now, by communicating and having cooked meat proteins, due to being readily absorbed in their bodies, the size of the brain started increasing drastically, and 1,200 fields was cubic centimeters. And then from this emerged the two smartest species of humans, Neanderthals and Neanderthals, from which Homo neanderthals disappeared suddenly at one point of time, and the children were only and only Homo sapiens. Why did this happen? No one has concrete evidence. But according to one speculation, Neanderthals had a bigger brain size than Homo sapiens, but their overall body size was much smaller, and their intelligence was slightly less than that of Homo sapiens. It was less, as today their communication and coordination skills were lesser than Homo sapiens.
If goes by your memories, it is so that multiples can be very aware, like for example being outsmarted by Homo sapiens. Interbreeding and the inability to withstand extreme climate and natural changes at that time. Because of these reasons, Neanderthals became extinct, and the children were left with their smartest cousins, Homo sapiens. Do you tell me in this whole evolution story, did you find any mention of Dragon Man, that is Homo longi? Not, but of course its skull has been found, so we have to fit it somewhere in the story. And ultimately, for the start, if we talk about the skull of Dragon Man Homo longi, it has been found to be the largest skull of any human species so far. Neanderthals were also bigger, and their height was roughly the same as Homo sapiens. So considering these two features, classify it among Homo sapiens. And it's more accurate to place us somewhere between Homo neanderthals. Am I right? What do you guys think? But here comes a twist. If we look at its facial features, its eyebrows ridges are projecting outward, and plus its teeth are also absolutely matches with Homo erectus. So now these two features, according to it, make it old human from Homo erectus species should have been present around here today. But again, if placed there, so this looks at the whole evolution falling. Because as we have seen with evolution, the size of the brain has also continued to increase, meaning all in all, this species is a part of human evolution. The biggest challenge is a piece of the puzzle, wondering where to fit it. Scientists cannot properly answer or explain, indicating that the full explanation behind this is lacking. What is the whole story and will run? It is good casting, because if this mystery is not solved quickly, many of our genetic disorders will remain incurable diseases. I told Kat at Tisinstix. There are many diseases today that have been observed due to genetic mutations from human evolution. For example, like lactose intolerance. Today, 68% of the world's population, especially Africans and Asians, Latinos, interact people. The reason behind this is human evolution, actually the beginning of farming in Africa and Asian countries. Dairy farming started first in European countries. And basically what happens is that in European countries, people consume cow milk and other cattle's milk, and this allows their body to genetically start digesting milk. You were mutated in such a way that you ultimately became lactose tolerant, meaning you now have the ability to digest lactose. You can see the proof for yourself in the 2017 National Institute of Health Research Survey. You can see that in European countries like Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Austria, people are significantly more lactose tolerant. But people in Asian countries do not do so as much. Genetic mutations can be tracked and many diseases can be reasoned out. And yes, of course, we can find many solutions to it as well. For a new meta, you might have never heard about this and it sounds quite complicated. 3-parent complicated. That's a किसी से एक डी ची के सपीशन साया. A baby made from the DNA of 3 people who can never fall prey to any disease. This can be called a super baby. Now see how UK scientists gave birth to this 3-parent super baby in this video. I have explained this whole concept in quite detail for you to enjoy it. And if friends you learn anything new by watching this video, make one too. Like, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon right now and press the notification so you won't miss any of our video updates. See you next time. As always, stay curious, keep learning and keep growing.